Myth 2. Kenyatta, the Pan-Africanist reformer. Jomo Kenyatta is often hailed as a key figure in the Pan-Africanist movement, a visionary who played a vital role in Africa's decolonization during the mid-20th century. His name is commonly linked with prominent leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, Leopold Senghor, and Julius Nyerere, all of whom championed their nation's paths to independence and advocated for a united Africa. Kenyatta's journey into the realm of Pan-Africanism can be traced back to his formative years as a student in Europe. It was during this time that he was exposed to the ideas of George Padmore, an influential Trinidadian intellectual with strong connections to the Russian Communist Party. Padmore had a firm commitment to anti-colonialism in Africa. Together with Padmore and other Pan-Africanists, Kenyatta played a role in organizing the Fifth Pan-African Congress in 1945. This historic gathering featured notable speakers like W.E.B. Du Bois, Amy Garvey, as well as future African presidents Hastings Banda and Kwame Nkrumah. The Congress advocated for the independence of African and West Indian nations. Kenyatta himself addressed the convention, representing an East African perspective and advocating for political independence, self-reliance, and an end to racial discrimination. This early dedication to Pan-Africanism solidified Kenyatta's position as a significant figure in the broader struggle for African independence. However, the transition from being a passionate Pan-Africanist to becoming Kenya's first president introduced complexities into Kenyatta's legacy. Upon his return to Kenya in 1946, his priorities shifted. While he continued to advocate for majority rule and joined a nationalist coalition, Kenyatta's engagement with the Pan-African vision began to wane. His calls for African governance and self-reliance became more moderate, aligning with the titles and status he assumed in Kenya. Following Kenya's independence, Kenyatta made pivotal decisions that deviated from his earlier Pan-Africanist rhetoric. Notably, he undermined the independence constitution, which aimed to establish a decentralized federal political system in favor of a more centralized state. This decision concentrated power in the hands of the central government, weakening regional autonomy. The consequences of this centralization included an increasingly powerful state and ruling party, effectively transforming Kenya into a one-party state as opposition parties struggled to function. This transformation contradicted the principles of Pan-Africanism, which emphasized participatory governance and decentralized power. Kenyatta's commitment to Pan-Africanism was further compromised by his retention of British intelligence and influence after independence. Despite Kenya's official foreign policy of positive non-alignment, it maintained favorable relations with Britain and the United States, upholding a pro-Western and pro-capitalist outlook. These foreign policy decisions influenced domestic policies and had long-lasting effects. Moreover, Kenyatta's use of political office for personal enrichment raises questions about his true motivations. His accumulation of land and wealth throughout his time in power, coupled with allegations of his family's involvement in illegal activities such as the ivory trade, suggests that personal gain played a significant role in his leadership. In essence, the narrative of Kenyatta as a Pan-Africanist reformer reveals a complex transformation from an early advocate of African unity to a leader who prioritized centralized power and personal enrichment. This myth of his Pan-Africanism warrants closer scrutiny to appreciate the nuances of his legacy. Myth 3. Kenyatta, the father of independence. Many people think Jomo Kenyatta was the main person responsible for Kenya gaining independence. This idea came about as Kenyatta rose in Kikuyu politics, leading in the Kikuyu Central Association, KKA, and the Kenya African Union, KAU. This made people see him as the most important figure in the struggle for self-rule. Kenyatta's reputation grew as he took on leadership roles not only among the Kikuyu, but also by forming alliances with leaders from different ethnic groups. People saw him as a symbol of unity and a national leader, and his age and charisma resonated with many Kenyans. However, this belief oversimplifies the complex mix of forces and people that played a part in Kenya's path to independence. While Kenyatta's leadership was significant, he wasn't the only reason Kenya became independent. The Mau Mau's fighting in the early 1950s had a big impact on the road to independence. The violence and unrest made the British colonial government make changes. These changes included giving more Africans roles in the Legislative Council, LEGO. This allowed more Africans to have important positions and began the processes needed for independence. Kenyatta's time in prison and his connection with the Mau Mau temporarily made him less influential. During his time in jail, younger leaders from the Kikuyu and other ethnic groups became important in the Lego, and Kenyatta's power went down. He wasn't liked by white settlers, and his influence with Africans outside the Kikuyu areas also went down. Historian Charles Hornsby tells us how Oginga Odinga played a big role in bringing back Kenyatta's influence. Odinga, who first met Kenyatta in the Cow in 1948, became an important figure in the Luo Union, which was an organization with influence in Western Kenya. Odinga used his anti-colonial stance to become a leader in the Luo Union, and he used this position to become well-known nationally in the Lego. Odinga kept pushing for Kenyatta to be freed and get back into national politics, even when other African leaders were against it. This made people rethink Kenyatta's role in the bigger political scene. Odinga's work to get Kenyatta out of jail changed Kenya's history and let Kenyatta have a big role in national politics and become the first prime minister. Another person who is often forgotten in the struggle for independence is Tom Mboya. Mboya became known in nationalist trade unions because he was really good at organizing protests for worker rights and better working conditions. He was able to raise money for trade workers and nationalist causes, which made him stand out. Mboya played a bigger role in making the fight for independence known internationally compared to other national leaders. He had connections with the American Federation of Labor and British Trade Union, which helped the independence movement get international attention. Mboya organized the Kennedy Airlifts, which sent African students to U.S. universities with scholarships between 1956 and 1961. These students later got jobs in Kenya's government and bureaucracy, and they were educated and connected to the world. When Kenyatta was freed and became famous, his importance overshadowed the work of people like Odinga and Mboya. He started to focus on ethnic unity over national unity and kept things the same with land distribution, which favored an African elite over people who didn't have land. In the end, while Kenyatta's leadership was important for Kenya gaining independence, the idea that he was the only or main reason for that independence is too simple. Other people and forces played important roles in Kenya's journey to self-rule, showing that the fight for independence was complex and had many aspects. What are we to make of it? When examining history, it's vital to consider that historical figures are deeply influenced by the times and situations they live in. Jomo Kenyatta's leadership took place in a complex and challenging context as Kenya transitioned to independence. This transition was marked by numerous difficulties, including ethnic divisions, economic inequalities, and the enduring effects of colonialism. Characterizing Jomo Kenyatta's post-independence leadership as either a pure success or a complete failure oversimplifies the complexities of his role. His legacy is better understood as a series of missed opportunities and choices influenced by various factors and challenges. Kenyatta's political journey was intricate. Taking leadership in a newly independent African state meant inheriting not just the nation's potential and resources, but also its artificial borders and diverse nationalities. Kenya's history as a colonial creation with diverse ethnic groups posed a formidable challenge for Kenyatta, uniting a nation that didn't exist when he was born. Kenyatta's leadership priorities reflected the complex nature of the post-independence period. Balancing the interests of diverse ethnic groups while maintaining his hold on power was an ongoing challenge, leading to compromises that continue to shape Kenya's contemporary political landscape. A crucial aspect of Kenyatta's legacy is his emphasis on ethnic unity over national unity. In his quest to hold on to power, Kenyatta promoted ethnic loyalties, inadvertently fostering tribal politics. This focus on ethnicity over a shared national identity still influences Kenyan politics, leading to ethnic-based voting patterns, competition, and sometimes violence. Kenyatta's reluctance to address the thorny issue of land distribution had significant consequences. The unequal distribution of land and resources during colonial rule, with white settlers in key positions, remained largely unchanged after independence. Kenyatta's government replaced the settler class with an African elite, primarily from his Kikuyu community. However, this transition failed to address historical injustices, leading to the concentration of land and wealth in the hands of a few, while many marginalized Africans remained landless. Kenyatta's claims of being a Pan-Africanist are further complicated by his close ties with Western powers, especially Britain and the United States, at a time when anti-colonial movements were sweeping across Africa. Kenya's official foreign policy of positive non-alignment contrasted with its warm relations with Western nations, which significantly influenced domestic and foreign policy decisions. Moreover, Kenyatta's personal enrichment through political office raises questions about his motivations for seeking power. His accumulation of substantial wealth and property began upon his return to Kenya, continuing during his presidency, making his family one of the wealthiest in the country. Reports of this immense wealth and rumors of involvement in illicit activities cast a shadow over Kenyatta's legacy. In conclusion, Jomo Kenyatta's legacy isn't easily classified as a resounding success or failure. It's a testament to a series of missed opportunities, complex compromises, and pivotal choices, all navigated within the intricate and challenging context of post-independence Kenya. The lasting consequences of his leadership, including the emphasis on ethnic politics, unresolved land disputes, and issues of personal enrichment, persist as influential factors shaping Kenya's political landscape and societal divisions.